Hi everyone, welcome back to the VSO Gun Channel. It's excellent to have you here as always, and thank you for watching. And today we're talking about helmets, thus the helmet on top of my head. But what I wanted to do with today's video is compare and contrast a cheap helmet with a nice helmet. When I got into night vision, I was like, man, I just need something to be able to mount my stuff to. And I didn't really know a whole lot about the setups, why they cost what they cost. And it was just really daunting to me, so I just went out and bought the cheapest ballistic helmet I could. And I suffered through using that thing for months before I finally upgraded. And I thought that perhaps if we talked about this for a little bit, then maybe I could help you avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into, thinking that, helmet's a helmet. And the answer is, do you need to spend $1,000 on a helmet? Yeah, probably not. But perhaps that $200 option isn't going to do you very good in the long run either. So bottom line, let's go after high value items instead of the cheap crap that's out there. And I realized that I just said that while wearing a Vortex shirt. If only they made optics as good as their shirts. And we're back. The two helmets that we're going to be comparing in today's video are this guy for our cheap helmet. This is a Long Fry something or other. I don't remember the model number. I have a full video out on this thing. I'll have it linked in the description box down below if anybody is interested in looking at this thing specifically. I think it did it like a little bit over a year ago. Anyway, our nice helmet is going to be this guy right here, which is a Hard-Headed Veterans ATE. Both of these helmets are level 3A rated, but I may also roll in, depending on how I've got things set up in post-production, but I may also roll in this guy right here, which is one of the HHV bump helmets. Obviously, this thing is not ballistically rated. You can see my finger sticking through that guy right there. But this has some similar features, and I may use this because, as you can see, I've got this thing kind of configured out a little bit with a lot of stuff on it, and it may be harder to see some of the features that are present in both helmets just because I've got so much crap on my head. One thing that I need to mention before we go any farther, and that is if you guys are interested in any of the Hard-Headed Veterans equipment that you see in today's video, that I have secured a discount code for you guys. I'll have that listed in the description box down below, as well as over on the affiliates page if you guys are interested. I think it's going to be like 15 bucks off of a helmet or something like that, and a small percentage of the sale comes back to me to help support the channel. So know that by shopping, you guys will also not only be getting quality equipment at a discounted rate, but you'll also be supporting the channel in the process. So use that code to great effect. Now, speaking of shopping, some of you guys may have noticed a trend up to this point, and that is that I don't normally talk about price in a lot of the work that I publish. For two reasons. One, many of you are just as good at running a browser, if not better than I am, so you guys are totally capable of doing that yourself. And then on top of that, pricing is almost never static, and I try to produce timeless stuff. And if I quote you a price now and then it goes through the roof tomorrow, then I feel bad about that sort of stuff. And I feel it's inaccurate. So a lot of times I just stay away from it, because a lot of times I get product when it's new. And then by the time somebody watches the video a few years from now, it's completely obsolete information. That aside, I do reserve the right to talk about that and violate that internal code when I come up against an outrageous situation, and we just so happen to have one here today. So this guy, before the crash, I purchased this, and I think I paid like 230, 240 bucks, something like that for this particular helmet. Again, cheap helmet. The ATE, I believe the original pricing on it was like $660 or something like that, which is still a bomb price for a ballistically rated helmet. But I think that they're currently listed, depending on the print and the color and the model and all that sort of stuff, I think they're currently listed for like $480 something. Guys, I don't know how they're making any money on these dome pieces right here. So I'm not trying to be high pressure sale for you guys, but something's up. This is a pretty nice piece of kit. If this was listed at the current price that it is listed, I never would have even considered something like this. I feel like I gotta go wash my hands now. I feel dirty. But the first thing, first and foremost, when it comes to any helmet, is suspension system. And that is the first thing that you'll notice when you compare something like this versus something like this. Look at the quote-unquote impact layer. There is so much stuff inside this helmet. So when I first pulled it out of the box, I threw it on my head, and I was like, oh my god, I ordered the wrong sizes. Son of a gun. Because it just kind of like, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to send all this stuff back because it's wrong. And then I did something that I don't normally do, which is I read the instructions. And it turns out that there are 2 systems of pads that come with every hard-headed veterans that allow you to custom fit. So this is just the base layer. This does not move, this does not change. This is what is called their impact layer, and it sits on top of or between your comfort pads and the actual helmet itself. So this is like its squish layer, if you will, and it's kind of more of like a memory foam type situation, and it is designed to absorb impact. And then the other padding layer that is designed to go on top of or between your dome and this dome piece are what allow you to fit the device to your head. If we look at this by contrast, we have 1 pad in the back and then 2 pads on top. What that can cause, first and foremost, is hot spots. So these are going to create pressure points. Even though these are really comfortable pads, you wear this thing for a couple hours, you're going to get hot spots on your head. We'll talk about that suspension system a little bit more when we get to the gripes section. I'm going to save some of that information here for just a critique that I have towards the end of the video. So I want to keep this thing flowing. Along with suspension system, weight is a factor. So out of the box, the ATE weighs about a ½ pound less. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but once you start adding all this other stuff to your helmet, especially with nods and a ballast, the ½ pound matters. So this is a long fry. Look how it fits on my head. Even though it's adjusted to be fairly tight, you can see where this thing sits as far as equilibrium is concerned. Now, even fully loaded, look how this thing sits. You'll notice that there's a gap. That's important. With this as low as it is, I cannot get the nod over this eye completely because the helmet will interfere with it. And to be able to get it to the max lateral, to be able to line it up with my eye properly, I then have to move the rhino mount out away from the helmet. You guys have all seen this. When you take an optic and you push it out in front of you, it obscures less of your vision and allows you to see what's around you more. When you're trying to look through a nod, that is the exact opposite of what you want. You want that thing sucked up as close to your eye as you possibly can get it. This helmet, by contrast, clearly has plenty of space here in the front. Continuing on, if we look at the side of this helmet, we have some M-lock rails. This uses the arc rail system. You can't bolt these in place. They are tension locked into place. To be able to bolt them in place, you have to alter the rail. There's a small tab right here that basically jumps over that rail each time it moves to a new position, and it's not very good, to be honest. Like, if I try really hard, I bet you I can push this. Yeah, look, I can drift that rail to a different place just by smacking it. The arc rail system is not as good as an M-lock system. The mounts that I used are the Unity tactical mounts, and there's one thing that I am going to gripe about these really quick. If I go back to the arc rail mounts, this is the out position, so this would be the helmet. The hearing protection would be away from my ears right now. I have the ability to push this, and those things would be now against my face so that they'd be sealed. And then if I need to take the helmet off, I can just pull on these and they pop right back out. These do not do that. And their only mechanism that you can get these away from your face is to rotate them up and brace them on the helmet. So while that functionality is also present in the arc rail setup that I previously had, these Unity tactical ones do not have that kind of click-in function. They're just constantly tensioned. And if there was one gripe that I'd have for them, it's like, hey, can we get that functionality? Because I really like that functionality when it came to the helmet-mounted hearing protection, being able to just, as far as space is concerned, we have 1, 2, 3, and then there's a small space underneath here, and then we have another piece right up here, so it's 4 total on either side of the helmet. Speaking of mounts, let me take this Rhino mount off here, and I just want you to look at that. There's a dedicated space here for your dummy mounts, versus the other ones are just kind of like hooked underneath of it. I believe them both to be made out of aluminum. I can't really confirm that because I'm not going to take them off. They're not ferromagnetic, so they're definitely not steel. Gratuitous amount of Velcro. Big space here at the back, all the way over the crown, and then some more space on both the sides, and a few small spots here on the front. Velcro pattern on this guy, nothing on the front there. We do have space for the patches there. We don't have that thing that goes down the spine, but for some reason they thought that we needed this thing across the top. I never mounted anything to that. You can see that I've mounted my SOE ballast here on the back, and again, I just needed a little bit of supplemental Velcro right there to be able to get that, because this is a relatively big footprint there on the back. But if you're using a single chambered ballast or a weight or something like that, and you won't need any more additional Velcro. You can see that I've just added a little bit of wing there. The straps actually terminate into a neck protector. I'll go ahead and throw it on real quick so you guys can see where that is going to fit, basically. Right there. Again, I'm not very good at this. In general, not good at most things. This thing has a magnetic clasp on the chin strap there. So basically the way this thing works, and I'll have it close up for you guys as well, is you can pull on this thing, and then this guy right here basically goes up through and does itself for you. I can honestly say that I never use this chin strap whatsoever, because this little buckle system that they've got going on here, because I have to be a nitpicker. Let's talk about the weakness of this helmet. There's one weakness that I have found, and it's simultaneously a strength. However, it is a rather annoying weakness. And here it is. So I talked about the suspension earlier and how it's very versatile, and you can take whatever size pad and put it wherever you want it. The problem is the attachment method for that. So in addition to that impact layer that we talked about, you take those comfort pads, layer them over top of those impact pads. To do that, they include these little discs that are the adhesive backed, and they have hook Velcro on the other side. The problem with that, while it's very versatile and you can change it at any point in time, we know that adhesives have problems in extreme conditions. And I have already had a few instances where those pads have fallen out. Now, I have stored this helmet like this for weeks now, and they seem pretty solid because the temperature has been fairly temperate lately. But going into summer, I fully expect to be having some issues with some of those pads coming out. And eventually, I think, again, after I test this in summer weather, I think I'm probably going to stitch these in place. It would be great if we had some kind of additional look at how to keep those pads into place, but still maintain that modularity factor. I don't know what that looks like. Going back to the cheapy helmet, yeah, I mean, there is the ability to pull these things out. They are kind of Velcroed in there. So there is some extra Velcro space, but there's not nearly the additional padding space inside this helmet as there is on the HHV. If you want to add additional pads to this sucker, then you're going to have to augment it yourself. And you're probably going to have to do some scissor work. So basically, the buy once, cry once mentality gets propagated through. And the easiest way to put it is this. So I purchased that $230 helmet to be able to mount my night vision to it because I needed something to mount it to. But then after using it, I realized that, hey, this thing's relatively uncomfortable. And it actually stifles the full capacity of what this device that I paid a lot of money to be able to use can do. And because of that, I'm not getting the full functionality out of it, and I'm actually missing out on my investment. So did I buy that? Yes. And then because I bought that, and now I have something better, I'm out extra money because I was stupid for my first purchase. There are many things that you can get away with buying the budget option, but helmet is not one of them. Now, some people would say, oh, well, you don't have to have a helmet to be able to use your night vision. You can get these things that mount to your head. And I'm like, no, those people don't own night vision, and they have never tried to mount that stuff to their head. You absolutely need a helmet to be able to mount that stuff to your head. Those little rigs don't work. They're horrifically uncomfortable, and if you don't want to make the investment in a ballistic helmet, then there are other options out there that have the same capabilities, like this bump here. use it for snowboarding or mountain climbing or anything like that, I suppose that would be a viable option as well. And if you want to get the most out of a helmet, I think that this would probably be a little bit heavy for some of those activities, but you know, your mileage may vary. But anyway, thanks for watching the VSO Gun Channel, and hopefully we'll see you guys on a future video if we don't get shut down or anything like that. And special thanks to our Patreons and Subscribe Star people that keep this thing running. For which window is up and which one's down.